channel dedicated to cooking. We've done a variety of cooking shows over the years, and Cindy Gomez-Schempp is the main chef on all these. But we felt it was really important to share with people our cooking, our recipes, and some of the tantalizing taste treats that we make. If you go to the channel, which the link is in the description of this video, you'll find different dishes that are traditional Mexican, some that are traditional American, some are just plain good to eat. If you want to learn how to make some of these foods, we pretty much leave all the ingredients and the recipes on each video. And I'm going to run through a few of those today, and we're going to make some more of these shows in the very near future because people are asking for more and more cooking shows. So for today, I'm going to give you some compilations of some of the foods we made, and it's also springtime, so we're going to wait for some of that stuff to grow so we can make these great dishes. Enjoy!
I'm now washing my purslane, verdolagas. So these have been soaking, got all of the nasty stuff out of there, and I'm about to process. Alright, now I have to take off all the little plants. So you want to pull on this and get all of the little plants off of there. You don't want the big stems because they're tough, they're harder to eat, right? So the little stems on here, that's okay, but not the big ones. So again, I'm just There. Now they're clean. Now I'm going to quickly boil these. You don't want to leave them in there too long. So, drop them. Prior to freezing them to preserve their heat and their flavor. I mean, if you're not into heat, you might not want to put all of these delicious peppers in, but I love heat, so that's what it's going to be. I'm going to add some salt to taste. So this is blended now. See the salsa in there? It smells great. It's 4 cups. You see the measure here, or maybe you can't. Now I'm going to put in our verdolagas. Cooked to perfection. And now I'm going to add our salsa. That's been cooking, simmering this entire time. All of the goodness out of there. And finally, I'm going to take some of this beautiful stock from the ribs. I'm not going to use chicken stock because I have pork stock. But if you don't pressure cook your meat the way that I did, and you need some stock, you can certainly do what I am doing right now, so that you're now we're just going to let that all cook together for about 15 minutes and it'll be ready to serve. And that is it. Así es, costillas con verdolagas. It's delicious. Eat it with some fresh tortillas and you are good to go. Enjoy. And there they are.
Marvelous.
So it'll be easier to pull it out.
You give me that.
Gomez, and today's recipe is carne de puerco en chile rojo, which is pork in a red chili sauce. And you can use the traditional ribs, or you can use pork shoulder. I used pork butt today, so whatever piece of pork is out there that you can get that's at a good price. Ribs work really well, although there's not as much meat, which I really like. And so we're going to show you first how we prepare the pork, and that's a very simple water in the pressure cooker with your 2 pounds of pork shoulder, pork butt, or pork ribs, and then half a lime juice and 2 bay leaves, salt, about a tablespoon, and then cover and cook until it's nice and tender. And here's the recipe for the chile rojo sauce. So we start off by cooking the meat in the pressure cooker with some water, half a lime juice, onion, and 2 bay leaves. You'll then want to get your pressure cooker up to the right amount of heat, and we cooked it for 2 hours. Then you want to get your guajillo peppers ready. They'll come in a package of about 12 to 15, and we're also going to be using árbol chiles, and I get the ones without stems because they're a lot easier to handle. So about 5 to 10, however much heat you like. Then I use 3 garlic cloves, but the recipe only calls for 2, and then ground clove and ground pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon. And then we need 1/4 of an onion, and we need about 3 tablespoons each of almond and pumpkin seeds. We're going to now fry our guajillo peppers. Be very careful with this step. You have to make sure that you don't inflate the peppers too much and have them blow up on you, because they can. So be very careful on this step. And then you want to toast these peppers in the oil, fry them. They'll change a color from to a bright red and then to a deeper brown red color, and you want to take them off before they start to blacken, because otherwise you will ruin your sauce. That's very important. Then you want to do the same thing with the little ones, and you only cook them for a very short period of time. You don't want them to burn either. And then these will go in water to steam for about 10 to 15 minutes. You want the skins nice and soft so that you can blend all of this. Now while that's going, we'll get the sauce finished with frying up these almonds. Again, this is very important you not burn these. You're just trying to get them to a roasted flavor. Pumpkin seeds, the same thing. Toss them quickly around, make sure that they don't burn on you, and then take them out. I'm setting all of these things aside in a bowl, and I will put them in later in the blender after the sauce is ready. So here we're going to fry a tortilla, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in my garlic here, and also the 1/4 of an onion. You just want to, again, get a nice char on these. You want to get your tortilla crispy, and then transfer all of this stuff into the bowl and set aside. Now meanwhile, we're going to take our chili peppers out, and you want to pull them out by the bottom so the stem is hanging down, and when you pick them up, all of the juice, if the stem should pull off right here, you can pull it off, and then all of the seeds and the veins will come right out, so it makes it very easy to clean them. Then throw all of them into a blender, and you want to put in about a cup of water to a cup and a half to almost 2 cups of water. You'll want to regulate this. You don't want it to be too runny, but you want it to blend nice and well. So I'm going to probably have to add a little bit more in here to get it a little more smooth. So almost a
1.5 to 2 cups of water. I used the same water that came with that the peppers were just boiled in. So now you want to run this through a strainer because the skins on the pepper have a bitter taste to them, and they're kind of tough on your stomach too. So you'll run it through the strainer, and once you work the salsa through, make sure you wear something to cover yourself and your counters. This stuff stains like crazy and very quickly too, so don't use any material that will get ruined. Now you can see that this will turn almost like into a paste, and what you have is just the smooth chili puree. You add that back into the blender, and then to that we're going to add all of the ingredients that we fried earlier, and also half a can of tomatoes. Now the original recipe calls for boiled tomatillos, so you know, the equivalent of about 1.5 cups of tomatoes. I didn't have tomatillos, so I used this here. Now add back the rest of the ingredients, push everything down, and then we'll blend it up very, very smoothly. And once you get it blended really nice and smoothly, you want to blend it on a high speed so that it's very, very creamy and smooth. Now we're going to put this into our cooked pork. So when your pork comes out, there's, you know, your onion pieces, your bay leaves, and things like that you might want to take out. Take those bones out. Then I'm pouring out about a little over half of the broth, the pork stock, and then I'm going to pour in my sauce. This is going to take another 25 to 35 minutes to reduce and thicken up again. And so you want to just have it on a low simmer, bring it up to almost a boil, and then drop it back down to a simmer and just let it continue to soak into the meat. And that is pretty much it. This is really a great dish to serve with fresh tortillas. And so we're gonna make some homemade tortillas right now, and these are just corn tortillas made with maseca. You can get this at almost any grocery store. It's corn flour, and just follow this package instructions. It just takes a little bit of salt and water, and then you knead it like you would bread dough. And once you get it all incorporated thoroughly so that the masa is not too sticky, you'll need a tortilla press. This one we made at home. You can find instructions to make these online. They're relatively cheap and kind of a fun project. So you have to like make them nice and flat, not too thin that they're hard to pull off the plastic, and not too thick that they're not going to get cooked all the way through. And then we are cooking these on a comal. You just pull your hand back quickly when you're laying them on your hot comal, and in no time you will be a pro. You'll need to turn these a couple of times, and if you get it just right, they blow up in the center like this one just did. Now I'm going to serve these with some beans and rice, and on top of these fresh corn tortillas. The sauce is almost kind of like a mole sauce or a pipián, but it's not sweet, but the flavor is really incredible. I'm topping these with sour cream, but you can also serve it with salsa, you can serve it with avocado. So that was our chile rojo sauce and pork, and here is the final presentation. I made it with some rice and some beans, and normally you wouldn't put it in a taco like this. You could just serve it on the side and eat it with your tortillas, rip off the pieces, but I thought I'd play it this way so that it's a little bit easier to handle for the people that are going to eat it right now. Thank you very much for watching another video of Cooking with the Gomez. Give us your comments and questions. Thanks.
end of a long day, the last thing I want to worry about is tripping on something on my way to the door.
Let's look in the pot. I am making sweet corn tamales, and I'm just showing my pot, which is ready to go. I've lined it with corn husks that have been soaking in water, in hot water, so they're nice and soft. And then I covered the holes in the middle. I put some more leaves in there, and I got a little corn teepee going in the middle. Hi, Sophie. Okay, Lizzie, you're on. So, sweet corn tamales are different than regular tamales, right? If you haven't eaten sweet corn tamales, they can be made either in a sweet preparation or a savory preparation. Some people like to put raisins in these tamales. Some people like to put cheese. Some people like to put nuts, pieces of pineapple. It has sugar. I cut the sugar a little bit from the last recipe I made, and here is my batter that I'm going to be using. So you can see the consistency. There's about 10 to 12 ears of corn in here. So I'm putting it back into the fridge because I want it to stay cold. I've got a little bit of time left before I start wrapping these bad boys. And the trick with these tamales, they're very, very simple to make. They're a lot easier than making tamales with filling in them, because you don't have to worry about any of that. And then, of course, you don't have to take the leaves and you know, smear the inside of the tamales and then put the filling in and then roll them up. None of that. For this, I used a mandolin to take off the kernels of the corn, which works really good. Otherwise, you can also cut the bottom of the ear off and stand it up and use a knife and carefully go down, cutting all of the kernels of corn. The second step that we did was to puree the corn. I used a food processor for that, and you just do it in batches until you pureed the corn, and Lizzie said it looked like scrambled eggs at the end. Sometimes it's kind of dry, so you have to add like a teaspoon of water, but you don't really want to add water. I didn't add water to mine. If you don't have a food processor, you can use a blender, but I have a food processor, thank God, so it was pretty easy, and it blended a really nice fine puree. Then I put my puree in the refrigerator while I creamed my sugar, my butter, and then added my and then I took out my cold corn and I incorporated the maseca, half the maseca and half of the cold corn, blended it, whipped it, mixed it, then the other half. And finally, my last part will be to put in the baking soda, and I'm not going to put that in until the end, and I want my masa to stay cold because this is a little trick that you use if you want them to come up. So that's all of the prep work before we begin to roll and start putting these bad boys in. Duke, do you want to come over here and hold the camera while we start? We'll start
on camera.
You're gonna have to be. Your hands probably won't be.
Oh no, my thing slipped. I ended the video.
No, you did not. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the
It hasn't been there for hours.
the baking soda,
It's only been
and once I get this incorporated, I can start making the tamales.
Are we supposed to leave it for half?
Shh. I need you to be quiet and stop interrupting the process. Something. So that we can do the best job that we can. Okay? Now there is a trick to this because there's two sides to a corn husk. There's a rough side and there's a smooth side. And you're supposed to put the filling on the smooth side, not the rough side of the tamal, okay? So just feel, there's one of this was about the size I wanted. So you want about 3 tablespoons of this inside. And I just use one of these spoons because I think it works well. Then you're going to roll. And then you're going to take the seam, and you're going to place them, I'm going to place them around this little teepee. Right for now, I'm just going to slide them against the side there. So that, okay, Lizzie, why don't you come over here and stand by the leaves and hand me leaf by leaf by leaf, okay?
Okay.
You do that for me? Mm-hmm. Way over there? All right. It's got a assembly line. Separate. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Seam. And then set it inside. Next. The big one.
Do you want me to cut them in half?
No. I bet I could, though. I bet I could. Done. You can see it goes pretty fast, right? Make these. Can you get me some of the ones from the bottom? I don't like that one as much. See if I can start to stand them up yet. Will they stand? This guy is not helping. There we go. Next. Ah, they're all falling. Stay. This one has a few holes in it, so I'm going to try to keep my batter on this side. As you can see, it's really not a difficult process to make the tamales. Okay, I'm going to try and arrange them in here. Thank you. Some of these are a little bit smaller than others. And if you get a leaf that's kind of broken or ripped, you can even take a piece of it and overlap it like that, and it will cover your rip. And there you go. Smooth side is where you put the masa. If your masa is too watery, it will ooze out of the end of your tamal. Now the cool part about making these other kinds of fillings or toppings instead of making fillings, and you can make them sweet or savory. Oops, we had a tamal try to commit suicide in here. Snug. Okay. It's not an exact science, but the nice thing is that these go pretty fast. Oh my, get it floppy like that. Stay. Stay. It's giant. Make 2 out of this one. From the bottom, okay, Liz? Pretty please. And too small. Have to use 2 for this one. You can see it goes pretty fast. We made 2 different toppings for our savory preparation. So we've got mole, or adobo actually, chicken and mole. And we also have, too freaking big. We also have beans and cheese, and we also have queso fresco and sour cream, table cream, Mexican table cream, which is pretty good. So one other trick that I did is that at the bottom of this pot we threw in like 5 pennies. And the reason that you use this trick is that when your water runs out, your tamales stop steaming, and you may run out of water before your tamales are done, so you have to add more water. And there's about a 1/2 inch of water at the bottom of this pot underneath the little trivet. So in order to make sure that you don't run out of water, you put some pennies down there. And when you don't hear the pennies shaking anymore, you're out of water. Time to fill more water. Any questions, Duke? Not from you, from anybody that's watching. Is there any questions? If you have fresh corn, you can whip up a batch like this.
Your hubby is so lucky to have you. You can cook.
Yes, thank you. That's sweet. I don't know if he agrees with everything I do at the stove all the time, but I'm sure there's some times that I've messed up pretty bad. Can I have another corn husk? This one's too small. But sometimes the food's pretty good, huh, Duke? There are times when I've screwed up at the stove. We don't have to talk about that now.
Tell them what ingredients are inside that.
The ingredients that are inside this, I put up on a recipe, the recipe I used for this. This is just pureed corn, about 10 ears of pureed corn, and 2 1/4 stick of creamed butter with sugar. You cream the butter and the sugar together. 1/2 cup of sugar to the 2 1/2 or 2 1/4 sticks of butter. And then you add to that about 2 teaspoons of salt. So first you puree the corn like I just told you, and I just put it in the fridge and keep it cold. Then I cream the butter and sugar together, 2 1/4 sticks plus the 1/2 cup of butter, and then you add yolk, and you mix that together with the creamed butter and sugar, and then you add the salt, which is 2 teaspoons, and then you have 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda that you set aside, and you mix the maseca, which is, I put 2 cups of maseca in here, corn flour for tamales and tortillas, with the cream, sugar, and butter, and eggs, and salt. And you're going to take your corn out of the fridge and mix it with the maseca and the butter and the salt and all of that. Then the entire thing goes back in the fridge for half an hour to an hour. You just want to get it cold again. I put my corn in there right after I puree it, so it's pretty cold already. And then right before you're ready to roll these puppies like you see me doing, you stick that baking soda in there, baking powder, excuse me. Baking powder goes in, and then you begin to do what I'm doing here. You're making the tamales. Just putting a little bit inside the shell on the smooth side. There's a smooth side and a rough side to these. And that's the side you want to put your dough on. So, I'm almost done here. See? Normally this takes a bunch of people. Making tamales is like a all-day event. Takes forever. And the cool thing about the sweet corn tamale preparation is that I've made my toppings, my mole and chicken, ahead of time. Then I've got my beans, and I've got some nice melty cheese, white cheese, for my second preparation. So I can have a bean and cheese tamale with some salsa on top, some sour cream, some queso fresco, and a little bit of chopped onion, and you're good to go. And you can do one with beans and cheese. Yep. Why you give me all these ugly ones?
That's all we have left.
Okay, one more.
Give me this one. You're gonna shame this one.
Give me a nice one. Give me a pretty one. There we go. Every little bit goes in. Okay. Now, I filled the whole thing, and I'm going to take some of these leaves and put them on top. Okay, hand me the leaves, please. I'm going to go ahead and start topping it off with more leaves. Why? Because I want this to steam. So I'm taking the other leaves and putting them on top like this to cover my tamales. You should not see anything when we're done here. I made like a little tamale house. Tamale house. There we go. See how nice that is? Now, the last part is I'm going to stick wet towels on top. These are wet. I'm just going to do this to cover the whole thing when it starts to steam. That's the little one. Last one. There we go. That's it. Now we just turn on the heat, and in about an hour I should have tamales.
Well, thank you for watching Cooking with the Gomez. You can find this playlist at the channel Duke1517 on YouTube. Look forward to more cooking videos. We will put some more up as we do our cooking. You have a great day and have a wonderful supper.